I told my grieving daughter that her dead husband and stillborn baby didn't matter anymore because I was tired of her pain ruining family celebrations. I called her an embarrassment on her dead husband's birthday, chose my younger daughter's engagement party over her grief, watched the light leave her eyes, let her walk out of my life without stopping her, and now I spend every Mother's Day alone, waiting for a call from a daughter who loved me until I made it impossible. I told my daughter that her dead husband and baby don't mean anything anymore. I said those words out loud to my firstborn child, the daughter who had buried her husband at 29 and her stillborn son 3 months later. The daughter who was drowning in grief so deep she could barely breathe. The daughter who needed her mother more than she ever had in her entire life. And I told her to stop being an embarrassment. I'm writing this at 4 a.m. because I haven't slept properly in 8 months. Because every time I close my eyes, I see her face in that moment. The way the last bit of light went out. The way she looked at me like I'd stabbed her in the chest. The way she stood up from that table, walked out of that restaurant, and never came back. My daughter is gone. Not dead. Just gone. She changed her number. Moved to a city I don't know. Blocked me on everything. Told the rest of the family that if they give me any information about her, she'll cut them off too. I have 2 daughters. Now I only have 1. And it's entirely my fault. My name doesn't matter. I'm 56 years old, and I destroyed the most important relationship of my life because I couldn't stand to see my older daughter's grief overshadow my younger daughter's joy. That's the truth. That's the ugly, unforgivable truth. My older daughter's name is Rebecca. She's 31 now. She was always the sensitive one, the deep feeler, the child who cried at sad movies and rescued injured birds and loved with her whole heart. My younger daughter is Melissa. 28. She's more like me. Practical. Driven. Focused on the future instead of dwelling on the past. I always understood Melissa better. I'll admit that now. Rebecca's emotions felt excessive to me. Overwhelming. I'd tell her to toughen up, to stop being so dramatic, to face the world with a thicker skin. I didn't realize I was teaching her that her feelings didn't matter. That she couldn't come to me when she was hurting. That her mother would always see her pain as an inconvenience. She learned that lesson well. Rebecca met David when she was 24. He was everything I'd wanted for her. Kind, stable, successful. An architect with a good firm, a gentle smile, a way of looking at my daughter like she was the most precious thing in the world. They got married when she was 27. Beautiful wedding. I cried watching her walk down the aisle, not because I was happy for her, I realize now, but because I was proud of what her marriage said about me. Look at the daughter I raised. Look at the life I gave her. It was always about me. A year into the marriage, Rebecca got pregnant. She was so excited. She called me the day she found out, crying happy tears, already talking about names and nurseries and how she couldn't wait for me to meet my first grandchild. I was happy for her. I think I was. But part of me was already calculating. Melissa wasn't even engaged yet. Rebecca was hitting all the milestones first. The wedding, the baby, the picture-perfect life. I told myself I wasn't jealous of my own daughter. I was lying. David died 4 months into the pregnancy. Car accident. Wrong place, wrong time. A drunk driver ran a red light and hit him on the driver's side. He was dead before the ambulance arrived. Rebecca called me from the hospital. I could barely understand her through the sobbing. "He's gone, Mom. He's gone. What do I do? What do I do?" I drove to the hospital. I held her. I said the right things. But even then, even in that moment, part of me was thinking about logistics. The funeral. The finances. What this would mean for the baby. How inconvenient this all was. I hate myself for that now. The funeral was the worst day of my life. Or so I thought at the time. Rebecca was destroyed. Hollowed out. She stood at the grave like a ghost, one hand on her belly where her baby was growing, the other clutching a photo of David she wouldn't let go of. I stood next to her and thought about how much time I'd have to take off work to help her through this. 3 months later, she lost the baby. Stillborn at 7 months. A boy. She'd already named him Daniel, after David's father. She'd already decorated the nursery in soft blues and greens. She'd already bought tiny clothes he would never wear. The hospital let her hold him. She held him for 6 hours. Wouldn't let go. The nurses told me later they'd never seen grief like that. A mother holding her dead son, the son who would never know the father who died before he was born. I was there, but I wasn't present. I kept thinking about Melissa. About how she'd just gotten engaged to her boyfriend, Tom. About how we needed to start planning the engagement party. About how Rebecca's tragedy was going to overshadow everything again. I am a monster. I know that now. The months after Daniel's death were brutal. Rebecca couldn't work. Could barely function. She'd call me crying at 2 a.m., saying she wanted to die, saying she had nothing left to live for. I'd tell her to see a therapist. To take medication. To find healthy coping mechanisms. I never once just listened. I never once let her grieve without trying to fix her. I never once acknowledged that some grief isn't meant to be fixed. It's meant to be survived. 6 months after she buried her son next to her husband, I made a decision that would destroy everything. Melissa's engagement party. We'd been planning it for weeks. A nice restaurant, close family and friends, a celebration of love and new beginnings. Melissa was glowing. Tom was perfect. Everything was falling into place. The date we chose was March 15th. David's birthday. I knew it was David's birthday. Rebecca had mentioned it once, months earlier, saying how much she was dreading that day. How it would be the first birthday she'd have to face without him. How she didn't know if she could survive it. I remembered her saying that. And I scheduled the party anyway. I told myself it wasn't a big deal. That Rebecca needed to move on. That she couldn't expect the whole family to pause their lives every time a painful date came around. That March 15th was just a day, and Melissa deserved her celebration. I told myself I was being practical. I was being cruel. When I told Rebecca about the party, she went quiet on the phone. March 15th? Yes. The restaurant only had that date available. A lie. They had other dates. I chose that one because it was convenient for Melissa's work schedule. Mom, that's David's birthday. I know, sweetheart. But it's been almost 9 months. I think it would be good for you to be around family that day. To celebrate something positive instead of dwelling on. Dwelling? Her voice cracked. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant. You scheduled my sister's engagement party on my dead husband's birthday. And you want me to celebrate. Rebecca, Melissa is excited. The whole family is coming. It would mean so much to her if you were there. Silence. I'll think about it, she finally said. She came. I don't know why. Maybe she was still hoping I'd understand. Maybe she thought being around family would help. Maybe she just didn't have the strength to fight anymore. She came, and she tried. I watched her walk into that restaurant, pale and thin, wearing a black dress because she was still in mourning and couldn't imagine wearing anything else. She hugged Melissa, congratulated Tom, smiled at relatives who kept asking if she was doing better. But she was barely holding on. Anyone who looked closely could see it. The way her hands shook. The way her eyes kept drifting to nothing. The way she flinched when someone mentioned the future or starting a family. She sat at the end of the table, quiet, trying to disappear. And I resented her for it. I actually resented my grieving daughter for not being cheerful enough at a party I'd scheduled on the worst day of her year. Halfway through dinner, Melissa was opening gifts. Everyone was laughing, cooing over place settings and fancy kitchen gadgets. Rebecca excused herself to go to the bathroom. She was gone for 20 minutes. Melissa noticed. Rolled her eyes at me. She's making this about her again. And instead of defending my older daughter, instead of recognizing that she was probably crying in a bathroom stall on her dead husband's birthday, I nodded. I'll handle it, I said. I found Rebecca in the hallway outside the restrooms. She was leaning against the wall, eyes closed, tears streaming down her face. Rebecca. People are asking where you are. She didn't open her eyes. I just need a minute. You've had 20 minutes. Melissa is opening gifts and you're out here crying. This is supposed to be a happy day. It's David's birthday. I know it's David's birthday. But David is gone, Rebecca. He's been gone for almost a year. You can't keep falling apart every time something reminds you of him. She opened her eyes then. Red-rimmed. Devastated. Falling apart? Mom, I lost my husband. I lost my baby. I lost everything. And you scheduled this party today, knowing what it meant to me, and now you're mad that I can't smile through it? I'm not mad. I'm concerned. You're making a scene. I'm not making a scene. I'm grieving. There's a difference. It's been 9 months, Rebecca. 9 months? She wasn't yelling, but her voice broke in a way that was worse than yelling. You think there's a timeline? You think I'm supposed to be over burying my son by now? He would have been 2 months old, Mom. 2 months. I would be holding him right now. And instead I'm at a party pretending to be happy while everyone around me talks about love and marriage and babies like it's nothing. Like I didn't have all of that and lose it. Lower your voice. No. I won't. I have spent 9 months lowering my voice. Being quiet. Trying not to make anyone uncomfortable with my grief. And I'm done. Rebecca, you're being selfish. This is Melissa's night. I came. Isn't that enough? I came to my sister's engagement party on my husband's birthday because you asked me to. What else do you want from me? And that's when I said it. The words that ended everything. I want you to stop being an embarrassment. I want you to stop stealing attention from your sister. I want you to accept that David is dead. That Daniel is dead. That they're not coming back. And that their memory doesn't mean anything anymore if all it does is make you miserable. Doesn't mean anything anymore. I said that. About her husband. About her baby. Rebecca's face went completely still. The tears stopped. Everything stopped. She looked at me like she'd never seen me before. Like I was a stranger who'd just done something unforgivable. Their memory doesn't mean anything, she repeated slowly. Like she was testing the words. Making sure she'd heard them right. I didn't mean. You did. You meant exactly that. She stepped back from me. I've spent my whole life trying to make you proud. Trying to be good enough. Trying to earn your love. And I finally understand something. Rebecca. I was never going to earn it. Because you don't have it to give. Not to me. She walked back to the table. I thought maybe she was going to sit down, rejoin the party, pretend this didn't happen. Instead, she picked up her purse. I'm leaving, she said to Melissa. Congratulations on your engagement. I hope you're very happy. Melissa looked at me. I shook my head slightly. Don't make a scene. Rebecca saw it. She saw me tell Melissa not to stop her. She walked out of that restaurant without another word. I let her go. I finished the party. I smiled. I made a toast to Melissa and Tom. I told everyone Rebecca wasn't feeling well, that she'd be fine, that she just needed rest. I lied. Rebecca didn't call me that night. Or the next day. Or the day after that. When I finally tried to call her, the number was disconnected. When I drove to her apartment, she'd moved out. When I asked her friends where she was, they wouldn't tell me. My daughter had vanished. And I had no one to blame but myself. The silence lasted longer than I expected. The first week, I told myself she was being dramatic. That she'd cool down and realize I was just trying to help. That she'd call me crying and apologize for overreacting. She didn't call. The second week, I started to worry. I called her work and they said she'd resigned. I called her landlord and he said she'd broken her lease, paid the penalty, and left no forwarding address. I called every friend I had a number for and they either hung up on me or said they couldn't help. By the third week, I was frantic. I filed a missing persons report. The police told me she wasn't missing. She was an adult who had chosen to relocate without telling her family. There was no crime in that. She's estranged herself, the officer said, not unkindly. It happens more than you'd think. Estranged. Such a clean word for such a devastating thing. I hired a private investigator. He found her in 6 weeks. She'd moved to Portland. New apartment, new job, new life. She was going by her middle name now. Starting over completely. Do you want her address? He asked. I said yes. I shouldn't have. I flew to Portland 3 days later. Found her apartment building. Waited outside like some kind of stalker until I saw her walking home from work. She looked different. Thinner, but healthier somehow. She was walking with her head up, not hunched over like she'd been for months. She was wearing colors, not black. She looked like someone who was healing. When she saw me, she stopped dead on the sidewalk. How did you find me? Rebecca, please. We need to talk. No. She started walking again, faster, toward the building entrance. I followed her. I'm your mother. You can't just disappear. Watch me. Rebecca, I'm sorry. Okay? I'm sorry for what I said. I was wrong. She stopped at the door. Turned around. Her face was calm, which was somehow worse than if she'd been angry. What specifically are you sorry for? For what I said at the party. About David and Daniel. I didn't mean it. You didn't mean that their memory doesn't matter anymore? I was frustrated. I was worried about you. I said the wrong thing. The wrong thing, she laughed, but there was no humor in it. Mom, do you know what you taught me that night? You taught me that my grief is an inconvenience to you. That my dead husband and my dead son are embarrassing. That I should have been over losing them in 9 months, like it was a flu. That's not what I meant. It doesn't matter what you meant. It matters what you said. And what you said was that they don't mean anything anymore. Her voice cracked slightly, but she held herself together. They meant everything to me. They still mean everything. And you wanted me to pretend they didn't exist so I wouldn't ruin Melissa's party. I was trying to help you move forward. Move forward? There is no moving forward from this. There's only moving through. Day by day. Hour by hour. Learning to carry the weight without collapsing under it. And I was doing that. I was trying. Until you told me I was an embarrassment for not being healed on your schedule. Rebecca, please. Come home. We can work through this. No. I'm your mother. You're the woman who gave birth to me. That doesn't make you my mother. A mother would have held me while I grieved. A mother would have let me cry without making me feel guilty for it. A mother would never, ever have told me that my baby doesn't mean anything. She turned away from me. Rebecca, please. I'm begging you. Go home, Mom. Forget you found me. Because if you show up here again, I'll get a restraining order. She went inside. The door closed. I stood on that sidewalk for 30 minutes, crying, hoping she'd come back out. She didn't. I flew home the next day and told no one where I'd been. The family fallout was slow but devastating. Rebecca had told people what I said. Not everyone, not publicly, but enough. Her aunt, my sister, called me 2 weeks after the party. Tell me you didn't say that. Say what? That David and Daniel don't mean anything anymore. Tell me that's not true. I couldn't tell her that. Because it was true. I'd said it. My sister was quiet for a long moment. I always knew you were hard on her. I always knew you favored Melissa. But this. I don't know who you are anymore. She's barely spoken to me since. My own mother, 82 years old, called me from her nursing home. I heard what happened with Rebecca. Mom, she's overreacting. You know how sensitive she is. She lost her husband and her baby in the same year. That's not sensitive. That's shattered. And instead of helping her put the pieces back together, you swept them under the rug so they wouldn't get in the way of Melissa's party. That's not fair. It's exactly fair. I raised you better than this, Karen. Or I thought I did. She asked me to stop visiting for a while. She needed time to process her disappointment in me. My 82-year-old mother was disappointed in me. That was 6 months ago. Melissa got married last month. Beautiful wedding. The kind of wedding I'd always dreamed of planning. The venue, the flowers, the dress. Everything perfect. Rebecca wasn't there. Nobody mentioned her name. But I could feel her absence like a missing limb. Every time I looked at the empty chair where she should have been sitting. Every time someone asked about family and I had to explain that my older daughter couldn't make it. Couldn't make it. Like she had a scheduling conflict. Like she wasn't 2,000 miles away, building a life specifically designed to exclude me. I cried in the bathroom during the reception. Not tears of joy. Tears of grief. I'd lost a daughter just as surely as Rebecca had lost a husband. The difference was, she didn't choose to lose David. I chose to lose her. I started therapy 4 months ago. Not because I wanted to. Because Greg, my husband, gave me an ultimatum. Get help or he was leaving. He'd watched me spiral into obsession, checking Rebecca's social media from fake accounts, driving past her old apartment even though she was long gone, talking about her constantly while refusing to acknowledge what I'd done. You're not mourning her, he said. You're stalking her. And you won't even admit you were wrong. So I went to therapy. My therapist is a woman named Dr. Ramirez. She specializes in family estrangement. Which means she's heard every version of my story from every type of parent who drove their children away. Tell me what happened, she said in our first session. So I told her. The whole thing. The party, the date, the confrontation, what I said. She listened without expression. And why do you think Rebecca cut you off? Because I hurt her. I said something unforgivable. What did you say? That her husband and baby don't mean anything anymore. Do you believe that? I wanted to say no. I wanted to say I didn't mean it, that it came out wrong, that I was stressed and frustrated and not thinking clearly. But Dr. Ramirez has this way of looking at you that makes lying impossible. I think I was tired of her grief. I think I wanted her to be normal again. To stop being sad all the time. To stop reminding me that terrible things happen and there's nothing we can do about it. So her grief made you uncomfortable. Yes. And instead of sitting with that discomfort, you asked her to stop grieving. I asked her to stop being so obvious about it. What's the difference? There wasn't one. I knew that. I'd always known that. I wanted her to perform being okay, so I wouldn't have to feel bad about not being able to help her. Dr. Ramirez nodded. That's honest. That's a start. We've had a lot of sessions since then. I've learned about my attachment style, my need for control, my lifelong habit of prioritizing appearances over emotions. I've learned that I favored Melissa because she was easier, because she didn't ask for emotional support I didn't know how to give. I've learned that I failed Rebecca long before that party. That I'd been failing her since childhood. That the party was just the final, unforgivable proof of something she'd always suspected. Her mother didn't know how to love her. Her mother would always choose comfort over compassion. Her mother's love was conditional, and the condition was being easy. Rebecca was never easy. She felt everything too deeply. And I punished her for it her entire life. I tried to write her a letter. 47 drafts. I couldn't get it right. Everything sounded like an excuse. Everything sounded like I was asking for forgiveness I didn't deserve. Finally, I sent something simple. Rebecca, I'm in therapy now. I'm learning about the ways I failed you, not just at the party, but your whole life. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to respond. I just need you to know that I understand now. David was the love of your life. Daniel was your baby. They meant everything. They still mean everything. And I will regret what I said to you until the day I die. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I love you. Mom. I sent it to her work address since I didn't have her home address anymore. 3 weeks later, it came back. Not returned to sender. Not refused. Opened. She'd opened it, read it, and sent it back. With one word written on the bottom of my letter in her handwriting. Goodbye. That was 2 months ago. I keep the letter in my nightstand. I read it every night. That one word. Goodbye. Not I forgive you. Not maybe someday. Not I need more time. Goodbye. Final. Complete. Absolute. My daughter read my apology and decided it wasn't enough. And she was right. No apology could ever be enough. You can't apologize for telling a grieving mother that her dead baby doesn't matter. You can't take back words like that. They live forever. They echo in every quiet moment. They become part of the story someone tells themselves about who they are and what they deserve. I taught Rebecca that her grief was shameful. That her love was excessive. That losing everything wasn't a good enough reason to fall apart. And now I've lost her. Not to death. To something worse. To the knowledge that her own mother was incapable of loving her through the hardest moment of her life. It's Mother's Day today. That's why I'm writing this. Melissa called this morning. She and Tom are expecting their first baby. A girl. She wanted to tell me in person but couldn't wait. I should be happy. I should be overjoyed. I'm going to be a grandmother again. But all I can think about is Rebecca. She should have been a mother. She should be chasing a 2-year-old around right now, tired and happy and complaining about sleepless nights. Daniel should be alive. David should be alive. My daughter should have the family she dreamed of instead of building a new life 2,000 miles away from everyone who was supposed to love her. I'll never hold Daniel. I'll never see Rebecca's face light up when her baby smiles. I'll never know what kind of mother she would have been. I'll never know because I made her grief about me. Because I scheduled a party on her dead husband's birthday. Because I called her an embarrassment. Because I said the one thing that can never be unsaid. If you're reading this and you have someone in your life who's grieving. If you're frustrated with how long it's taking them to get over it. If you're thinking about telling them to move on, to stop being so sad, to let go of someone who's gone. Don't. Don't say it. Don't even think it. Because grief doesn't have a timeline. Love doesn't have an expiration date. And the people we lose are never truly gone as long as someone remembers them. Rebecca remembers David every day. She remembers Daniel every day. And she should. They were her family. They were her future. They were everything. And I told her they didn't matter. I have 2 daughters. One of them is starting a family. One of them will never speak to me again. And I spend every Mother's Day looking at my phone, waiting for a call that will never come from a daughter who loved me until I made it impossible. Grief is not an inconvenience. It's not a phase. It's not something people should hide to make you comfortable. If someone you love is grieving, your only job is to sit with them in the darkness. Not to fix it. Not to rush it. Just to be there. I wasn't there for my daughter. I made her grief about me. And now I'm the one grieving, alone, with no one to blame but myself. Don't be me. Just be there.